Hi, and welcome to Campus Mortgage, the mortgage industry's leading provider of underwriting, processing, quality control, servicing, and closing training. Before we get started, please take a moment to read Campus Mortgage's disclaimer and keep in mind the information contained in this video is time sensitive and subject to change without notice. Today, we will be discussing part 3 of a 3-part video series, which covers using owner-occupied guidelines to purchase a home for your parents. We discussed the different requirements that both Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have for this owner occupancy exception. Again, we're covering the borrower's ability to use owner-occupied guidelines to purchase a home that their parents intend to occupy as their own. So using owner-occupied guidelines on a home that the borrower's not going to occupy, but again, they're purchasing it for their parents. So there are several reasons why this occupancy exception provides such a great benefit to all the parties. Mainly, owner-occupied transactions have more benefits than a non-owner transaction. You'll recall in part 1 of this series, we discussed the different occupancy types and how an owner-occupied transaction is considered one of the lowest risk occupancy-wise, particularly in comparison to a non-owner occupied transaction. So owner-occupied transactions, because they're considered less of a risk, they have more flexible guidelines. A non-owner transaction is considered a higher risk loan, so their guidelines are a bit more restricted. So by the agencies allowing this owner occupancy exception, it allows you to take advantage of those owner occupied guidelines on a home that you yourself do not intend to live in. So let's take a look at just some of the benefits of using the owner occupied exception versus doing a non-owner occupied transaction. So first up, just take a look at the LTV. And this is based on a 1-unit purchase. Your standard conventional owner-occupied transaction, you can get an LTV up to 95 or 97%, anywhere between 95 and 97, depending on your qualifications. But for a non-owner transaction, same thing, 1-unit purchase, you're limited to 85% across the board. That's the max you would get on a standard conventional for a non-owner transaction. So right out the gate, you can see being able to use the owner-occupied exception would dramatically reduce your required down payment versus a non-owner transaction. And speaking of down payment, another benefit is source of funds that can be used at closing. On an owner-occupied transaction, you can get gift funds to make up for any down payment that you may need. On a non-owner transaction, gift funds are not allowed. So on a non-owner, you're likely going to need reserves on a standard conventional loan, in addition to your down payment, and gift funds are not allowed to meet any of those on a non-owner transaction. So again, using the owner-occupied exception to purchase for your parents versus going non-owner to purchase a home that they would live in will definitely help you save on your cash to close and your required down payment. And then in addition to that, the pricing, just the pricing is better on an owner-occupied transaction. Again, that goes into the risk, so lenders tend to price owner-occupied better than a non-owner transaction. So in an owner-occupied, you typically will not have any loan level pricing adjustments for the occupancy type. But if you flip that over to a non-owner occupied transaction, you will likely have some loan level pricing adjustments that would be applicable. So that would make the pricing and or your rate increase based on an owner-occupied versus a non-owner transaction. And then another feature I wanted to highlight a difference between owner-occ and non-owner, again, to show the benefits of using this owner-occupied exception, is the dramatic savings that you will see in your mortgage insurance. So again, we're talking a standard conventional transaction. And now on your slide, you'll see a sample rate quote from MGIC. And let's take a look at what we have here. So this is a rate quote for a primary residence at an 85% LTV. And then you just want to take note of the different characteristics of this quote. Our loan amount is $250,000 for a 30-year fixed rate mortgage, 700 credit score, 43 DTI. So again, because we're at that 85% LTV, the MI coverage would be 12%. So you can take a look at this quote for an owner-occupied transaction that would show your borrower paid monthly MI is just $52. That is 0.25%. That's your MI coverage for this quote for a primary residence. Now let's take a look at the quote for an investment property. So this would be a non-owner residence. So same parameters that we had for our primary quote: purchase, 700 FICO, 85% LTV, 12% coverage. You'll see same loan amount, same mortgage terms. Everything's the same except the occupancy type. And that $52 payment jumps up to $150 per month. So again, dramatic difference in pricing and your MI coverage, your MI cost between a non-owner and an owner-occupied transaction. So again, very important to keep in mind that this exception is out there if you have a conventional borrower who's looking to purchase a property that their parents would live in. You definitely want to take the time to look into Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac's owner occupancy exception, as opposed to placing that borrower into a non-owner transaction where the cost and the benefits will not be as great. And that concludes part 3 of this 3-part video series. For more tips, videos, and for a full list of courses offered by Campus Mortgage, please visit our website at www.campusmortgage.org. Thank you, and as always, make it a great day.